All right, so now that the recording has begun, I do want to introduce to you our two presenters for this evening's webinar on the DP Flex. So first and foremost, I want to introduce to you Daryl Way. So Daryl is a level 5 umpire from Brampton. Daryl has umpired at 6 Canadian championships and supervised at 12 Canadian championships. Daryl has been a liaison at an ISF event and has also worked many different international games. Joining Daryl this evening is Trevor Topping. Trevor is also a level 5 umpire from Kitchener. Trevor has worked several Canadian championships and also several WBSC events. So both Daryl and Trevor bring a wealth of knowledge and skill to our presentation here this evening. And so I want to now welcome Daryl and Trevor. Trevor, bear with me a moment while I disengage my screen so you can engage yours. All right, I'm disengaged, so I think, Trevor, you can engage your screen now.
Excellent. Hopefully everyone can see the screen now. So welcome to the DP Flex webinar. This was identified as a rule that umpires are struggling with at provincials Canadian championships. A big reason for that is a lot of youth leagues and tournaments are now using unlimited substitutions. So when you go from those leagues and tournaments to your provincials Canadians, umpires are just not familiar with this rule. But when you break it down, it really is a simple rule. And we hopefully, with what we share tonight, bring some more clarity to the rule. What we'll cover tonight is we'll explain what the Flex DP rule is. Something we typically don't talk about umpires, when teams should use the DP and Flex rule. And it just there's some strategy around it. And we also talk about how to use the Flex and DP rule. We'll go over a number of scenarios. And we'll also go over some key points to remember, then we'll get into the questions. So I'll just go on the next slide. We'll start getting into the content. So what is the Flex DP rule? So the Flex DP rule allows the team to play with 10 players instead of 9. It is a rule that you do not have to use. It is optional. So that's what it states here. The rule does not have to be used. Teams can still use the straight 9. But if they do use the Flex DP rule, the DP is the designated player, and they must bat, and they have the option to play defense. The Flex, they must play defense and can bat for DP only, and they'll always be the 10th player in the lineup. So at the start of the game, both the Flex and the DP must be noted on the lineup at the start of the game. Both the Flex and DP are starters, which means they can be substituted for and re-enter the game once. And one thing we should also keep in mind, they can suspend the Flex. So just you're doing your plate conference, you make the lineups official. The team does have the option to suspend the Flex, and that is the substitution. But that when that Flex is substitute for, they do have an opportunity to re-enter the game. They can suspend the Flex throughout the game. Say if their second pitcher is a strong hitter, the Flex may start pitching and the DP just hits. But if they want to put that second pitcher in with who has the strong bat, who's the DP, they can drop down to 9. So it's very important also to announce any substitution that changed the lineup. So if they're playing with 10, and the Flex leaves the field, they must announce that change. So if they don't announce it, that is an unannounced substitution, and then illegal substitute rules do apply. So the Flex and DP can play the defense at the same time. But one thing that can never happen is the Flex and the DP cannot be in the batting order at the same time. Since the Flex can only enter the batting lineup for the DP, if you got a Flex DP in the lineup at the same time, we got a serious issue, and that is what you refer to as a legal reentry. And if that happens and the other team appeals, we got both the player who illegally entered is going to be ejected, and then also the coach. When I see a change and then they're going to put the flex in somewhere other than the DP, I'll just say to the coach, "Hey, coach, are you sure you want to do that?" Hopefully they get the hint, but if they don't, be prepared to apply the penalty. Another key point is that the flex leaves the field defensively, then you have dropped to 9 players, and again, because it's changed the lineup, that change must be announced. So we'll go in when the team should use the flex DP rule. So there is some strategy behind it. So you may have a second pitcher that is the better hitter than starting pitcher. The second pitcher is not a good hitter, so and then we also have a flex who is a faster runner than the DP. You might have a flex who can bunt better than the DP, so they may want to put the flex in for the DP, get that bunt situation in play, and then they could revert right back to DP if they want, and the flex goes back to 10. Player utilization gives the opportunity to play with 10 instead of 9. You may want to prevent a pitcher from injury or fatigue. Or you have a player who is a strong hitter and not strong in defense. So you'll put him as DP, and the flex plays defense for them. And we'll get our scenarios. I'll pass it over to Daryl.
So the basic thing is the lineup. Both the flex and the DP are on the lineup, but only the DP is hitting and the flex is not. If the flex goes in, can only go in for the DP to hit. So both the flex and the DP are playing defense only. Team option is any 10 players can play defense. And you can drop down to 9 players when the flex has left the field.
In the middle.
Huh?
Whoever was supposed to win this game in all 5.
Okay. All changes, again, as Trevor stressed, go through the plate umpire. The flex can enter the batting order for the DP in the number 3 spot only, and then the DP loses a life. And remember, all starting players get to re-enter. The flex is always in the number 10 spot. So the OPO is really a term for scorekeepers. You could, if it works better in your mind to say, okay, now he's the temporary. No, you can't, because then the flex can't go in. So the OPO is just playing defense only when the DP and the flex are in defense position. Okay. Thanks, Trevor. And again, a simple rule. It's all about the lineup and the lineup card. Flex has been suspended, so we must be announced to a plate umpire. Team will only play with 9 players then. So we just dropped down to 9, and it can be temporary, it can be permanent, doesn't matter. Flex still has the opportunity to re-enter the game in the number 10 spot. If the flex re-enters the game, then they can only enter the batting order for the DP in the number 4 spot. We're going to be repeating this over and over so you get the whole idea. Okay. And scenario 3, the pitcher is the flex. Player is in the number 6 spot is hitting for the pitcher as the DP. The pitcher's only playing defense, again, to avoid fatigue and injury on offense, or maybe he doesn't hit well. Pitcher can replace the DP in the batting order to hit. Maybe the pitcher's a great bunter, though, and they get into a tie-break situation. The team has the option to drop down to 9 players by removing the flex from the lineup. So it's just all about that lineup card. So even if you get a lineup card and fill it in like this and practice at home, you'll get it. It's not hard. Thanks.
Yeah, and then here's the key points to remember, and you know, both Daryl and I, at least I know for myself, if I remember these key points that are on the screen right now, I can get through the rules. So first point, any 9 players can play defense, but it must include the flex. Once the flex leaves the field, you have dropped down to 9, and that must be announced. The flex is always the 10th player in the lineup. The flex and DP cannot be in the batting order at the same time. The flex can be suspended, which is a substitution, but they can re-enter the game. And only the DP loses life when the flex enters the batting order for the DP. And this can be done at limited times, but you're limited by the number of subs you have. So, for example, if the flex goes into DP, DP has lost life. They can go revert back to 10. That flex goes in for the DP. Now the starting DP is done. You now have to put when the flex goes back to 10, you must substitute for that DP. And you're all limited by the number of subs. Of course, subs only have one life. So every time you put the flex in for the DP, you're losing that player. So when you go back to 10, you must have a sub to replace. So those are the key points. And it was a quick presentation, and now we'll open up the floor to questions.
Well, that's great, Trevor, and that's great, Daryl. Thank you so much. I am monitoring the chat, and some questions are beginning to come in. So we're going to begin with a question from Trevor Sloan. I'm going to read it verbatim, and we'll see how this goes. So Trevor's question is, if the flex is suspended and the team goes down to 9, can they be re-entered? How many times can this happen? Can you cover this off again, please? Trevor, I'm going to hand that to you because I think that was on a slide recently.
Yeah. So the key thing to remember, because the flex is a starting player, they got 2 lives. So if you've dropped down to 9, the flex has lost 1 life, but they can re-enter once. But if you remove the flex again, you've essentially lost the flex. So to avoid losing the flex, don't remove the flex the second time. You're better to substitute for them. Then you can make your change. Actually, well, even the substitute, remember, they only have 1 life. So the key thing to remember, flex has 2 lives, and they can re-enter. Hey, Daryl, I don't know if you got anything to add.
Yeah, the starting lineup, that includes all 10. Can re-enter once.
Yep.
I like how you said that, Daryl. I know there was a time, and I'm not sure if it was explained or if I misheard. I had a misunderstanding that it was the batting order. Oh, if the batting order doesn't change, then it's not a substitution. But you said that very well, Daryl, when you said no, the starting lineup.
Yeah.
And so if you have the flex, that's 10 people in your starting lineup. And if you are changing the starting lineup, yes, you have a substitution, and that needs to be reported. I'm going to go to the next question. A participant wants to know, what does DP mean? Does it mean designated pitcher? Daryl, I'll hand that one over to you.
It's a designated player. It's like in the major leagues, they have what do they call it in the majors? I can't remember.
Designated hitter.
Designated hitter. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been so long. It's a designated player. And he's offense. He's a batter. Or she's a batter.
Perfect. Okay. Jamie asks, can you explain the special rules that apply to U19 women's and U20 men's and below? Jamie, I'm going to ask you to type a clarification question in the chat if you don't mind. Are you asking about special substitution rules or special DP flex rules? I just want to make sure Trevor and Daryl have some clarification. While we're waiting on that, Jamie, I'm going to go to Dave's question. Dave asks, should we be accepting a lineup at the plate conference with 10 and sorry, hang on a second. I've got a little thing in the way. Oh, sorry, with 10 and the flex player listed anywhere but the 10th spot in the lineup. So I think Dave's question is essentially, hey, if a coach has incorrectly filled out their lineup and has, we'll say, mistakenly put the flex in a spot other than the 10th spot, should we accept that lineup or should we have them corrected? Trevor, I'm going to hand that one to you.
Yeah, it's very important to review the lineup before you meet with the coaches at the plate conference. So if you see the flex anywhere than other than 10 spot, get them to correct it.
You don't want a headache.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure, and that goes with any lineup issues. If you see duplicate numbers or, two people playing third base, right? The reviewing of the lineup cards is not just accepting them and saying, oh, it's official now. There is a review process, checking for duplicate numbers, duplicate positions, and yeah, checking for, if the flex is in the starting lineup, are they in fact in the 10th spot like they're supposed to be? Okay, next question here in the chat is, what is the penalty for not announcing the suspension of the, sorry, hang on a second. Sorry, what is the penalty for not announcing the suspension of the flex? Which player is the illegal substitution?
Mhm.
So let's just deal with, I guess, the first part of that. What is the penalty for not announcing the suspension of the flex? Daryl, I'm going to have you chew on that one
I
first.
would like to know where the flex went then.
Yeah, so I think the question is that the flex is no longer playing defense. So, right, the flex is always required to be out there playing defense. All of a sudden, the 9 players that go out to play defense, the flex is not one of them.
And
And the offensive team, I guess, appealed. I'm going to just throw that one in there.
just change them. Just fix it.
Okay. Trevor, I'm
Yeah,
going to pass that one over to you.
Yeah.
yeah. And honestly, preventative umpiring, if you notice
Yeah.
it, I would even say to the coach, hey, coach, have you forgot to tell me something?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd use that preventative. But if it's not caught, you got an unannounced substitution. Yeah, someone's going to be declared ineligible.
Yeah, by rule, that
Yep.
is what it is.
Yep.
Trevor, I like your comment about
Yep.
the preventative umpiring. If the
Definitely.
offensive coach will say beat you to it, we cannot deny or deprive them of using the rules as they are. It is an unannounced substitution.
So,
In the
Justin,
same way. Yep. Sorry.
it's Peter.
Hi,
I've,
Peter.
I've, I've actually had that in one of my games where
Yeah.
the flex did not go out and the opposing coach came out and told me that the flex was not announced as a suspension. So the end result is, or what we did, well, after a long debate, because it's an unannounced substitution and the flex and the DP are the players that are linked, the DP is the one who has to leave the game. Because the flex and the DP are linked. So the unannounced substitution would be for the DP because the flex isn't in the game. So the DP is the one who was removed from the game.
Gotcha. Okay. Thanks for that, Peter. And yes, that was, I guess, the second part of
Yeah.
Stoney's question there, which
Yep.
is which is the illegal substitute or the unannounced substitute. So yeah, okay. So it would be the DP in that case. Yeah, that's an interesting one for sure. Thanks for the assist there, Peter, on that one.
Yeah.
It's
Thanks,
always nice
Peter.
when
Yeah, we
something.
had it. We had it. I think it was last year in one of our university games, and it took us a few minutes to determine who was the player who came out, but we determined that since it was the flex, since the flex and the DP are the players that are intertwined, it was the DP who had to come out of the game. So
Very good. Okay, we're going to move along to the next question in the chat. Daryl, I'm going to hand this one to you. Stephen wants to know, what is the advantage of having 10 in the lineup and dropping down to 9? This happens a lot. So can you maybe repeat one of the things from earlier? Like, why would a team want to do that? Start with 10 and then drop to 9.
Well, maybe your flex player is a really good bunter and you've gone into extra innings. So you put him in for the DP so he can bunt. This is more in the women's game, I think, than the men's. So we can bunt that runner over to third. That
Oh,
could be why.
great. Thank you. Trevor, can you think of another reason, just so we have a second reason why?
Yeah, it's if you have a scenario where you got a pitcher who has a strong bat and also a strong arm, so you want to make sure you're utilizing their bat and their arm at the same time.
For sure. If I could just add on to that, not the only reason why a team would use 10, but certainly the starting pitcher being the flex player. And, it's now the fifth inning and the starting pitcher is getting fatigued. Well, wouldn't you know it, the DP happens to be the second best pitcher. And like you say, also has a good bat. That's why they've been the DP the whole game. Well, now it's time to remove the flex player, drop down to 9. Your DP is now your pitcher, but still gets to swing their stick for the rest of the game. That's a very popular reason why teams do use the DP flex option in their lineup, is for a situation like that. Not the only reason, but definitely primary, or at least a really popular reason. Okay, let's move along here. Oh, so Jamie has clarified. So I'm going to go back to Jamie's first question, and then he's got a clarification here. So Jamie asked earlier on, let me find your question here, Jamie. So Jamie asked, can you explain the special rules that apply to U19 women's and U20 men's and below? And then followed up later on with the special DP flex rules with minor ball and an injury. The flex can enter the game in that injured player spot. Oh, okay. All right. So Trevor, I'm going to hand this one to you. So Jamie's basically getting at, the minor, like, participation rules, a team using
Replacement
the
players.
flex, but now they've run out of substitutes and an injury has happened.
Yeah, this is to prevent a forfeit. We want to encourage youth teams to continue playing. So if they've run out of substitutions and now they've got someone in their batting 9 who's just got hurt, that flex can go in their spot to keep the game going. It's just to prevent a forfeit. Yeah.
Good. And Jamie, I'm so glad you asked that, because there are some teams that are fearful at the minor age level. Well, we only have 10 players we brought to the game. Let's only start 9 because we need to keep that cherished substitute on the bench in case of injury. Well, watch this. Nobody gets injured, and that poor kid sits there the entire game, being the only kid who didn't get to play. So this option of, well, no, you can still utilize the flex rule. And yes, the minor rules do got you covered, or do have you covered rather, in case of injury. Yeah, that flex player can go take that offensive spot. It's a special, we'll say, exception to the way the written rule is, and it's for the minor categories. Okay, so next question here. Can the flex change, or once you put the flex with a name, they are the flex player? So there's an example that follows. So say example, Lisa Smith is written down as flex for the starting lineup, and Lisa Smith is the flex throughout the game. Same for DP. Does it have to be the same person the entire game? Trevor, I'm going to hand that one to you.
Yeah, so the flex and DP, they're always going to be the flex and DP, but might have a scenario where you get the flex and DP both playing defense. Now you're going to have a batter who's now listed as an OPO. That was one of our scenarios. So just remember, once they're declared flex DP, they're always the flex DP. But you might have a scenario where someone who was playing defense comes off, and then you get the flex DP in the same lot. Then now that's where the OPO comes in.
Yeah, that's good. Just to follow up on the Lisa Smith example. So if Lisa Smith is your flex player, a substitute on your bench can substitute for Lisa Smith and just be a regular substitution.
Yep.
Right? The flex is just one of the starting players. As much as they have some exceptions that go with them, they are still a starting player. They can be substituted for one time and re-enter, or just be substituted for, period. So that's certainly a possibility. Okay, Kevin was getting some clarification about the minor rules, and Jamie provided that. Thanks, Jamie. So another question here from Tony. It goes like this. So do you ever bat 10 in this scenario, or is it simply an option to have the DP not bat, so you effectively bat 9? Is there ever a scenario where the flex bats twice in the lineup, or they bat for the DP? So, I mean, we'll clarify this. I'm sure Daryl, you'll grab this. I think Tony's got the language of flex and DP mixed up. Like he's got them interchanged. So I'm just going to reread it, but I'm going to make that change for Tony. So the question is, do you ever bat 10, or is this simply an option to have the flex not bat, so you effectively bat 9? Is there ever a scenario where the DP bats twice in the lineup, or if they bat for the flex, if they don't bat 10? So kind of a complicated little thing, but I guess the first question is, Daryl, can you ever have 10 batters?
Never.
There you go.
No,
So
no 10
that
batters. The
Good.
flex is not a hitter.
Right.
And
So-
the DP cannot bat twice in the lineup. There's only 9 hitters. And the other part of that question is, yes, the flex can bat for the DP. The DP then comes out of the game and can re-enter if they're in the starting lineup once.
Very good. All right. Good stuff. All right. Well, you were so efficient at answering those questions in the chat. We're currently caught up. We are going to do a last call for questions in the chat, so we'll give it a couple of minutes. While we wait or give a couple more minutes, I do want to remind everyone, this is the first webinar in a series of webinars that we're putting on here for Softball Ontario this spring. Today, of course, is March the 16th. 2 weeks from now, on Sunday, March the 30th, same time, same place, will be the second webinar in our series. And of course, we encourage you and invite you to join then. Another thing I want to remind you of is that this webinar has been recorded, and by the end of the week, hopefully, this webinar will be posted to the the Ontario Softball Umpires YouTube channel. And we will certainly share that link to all of the umpires here in Ontario, so that if they were unable to join us this evening, they can still benefit from the all the great information that Trevor and Daryl shared. I'm not seeing any more things in the chat, Daryl and Trevor. So what I'm going to do at this point is thank everyone for joining us this evening. A special thank you to Trevor and Daryl for their excellent presentation. We hope to see you at the next webinar 2 weeks from today, and have a good night, everyone.
Thanks. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trevor, Daryl.